Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever or whenever you happen to be listening to this. Thank you for listening to the Sales for the Nigerian Wedding Industry podcast. I'm your host, Abuja based event and wedding photographer Tavishima Ayede. Today, I'm taking a detour from the previous episodes where we were riffing on sales considerations, sales processes, contracts, and things like that. And I would like to answer one question that stumps a whole lot of us who are new entrants into the wedding and the event space, and also for those of us who've been in the business for quite a while. And that's the whole matter of why are they holding back? Why aren't they being more forthcoming? Why aren't they taking the plunge? These are questions that I get all the time. In fact, the last person who asked me this is a friend of mine, wedding planner in Abuja, real well known, and he was just exasperated about a couple of things, and he said, look, I don't have time for all this, these people are not serious. When they're serious, they will call me, and that was his attitude. And when it comes to all things sales and persuasion, these conversations can be long, drawn out, and complex. And so, at times like that, I pretty much just leave each person to his own philosophy. I don't bother chiming in because if I want to, it's going to be a very long conversation and it involves laying too much groundwork. Luckily for those of us who have found our way to the podcast and who love listening to the podcast, so luckily we get to spend a little bit more time, and so I can flesh out some of these ideas a whole lot more, and we can get to the crux of why your sales philosophy is important and how we can help you to make more money and not just limiting yourself to the how do they say it? Is it low-hanging fruit? Yeah. And not just taking advantage of the low-hanging fruit. I mean, people who seem ready to cut you a check, and then you deal with only those sorts of people. So anyway, summary of all my rambling back and forth is that at some point, whether you're new to the business or whether you've been at it for a while, you're going to worry about this particular class of customers, and typically they're going to be more than those who just send you a transfer immediately. And you're going to be asking yourself that question: why are they holding back? Why aren't they taking the plunge? Why aren't they moving ahead? Now, for those of you who are old fogies and have been listening to the podcast from day one, well, I'd like to say thank you very much for hanging on so far, because I think the last time I checked, we're well over 100 episodes. I can't remember if we're close to 130 or if we've done 120. Anyway, I can't remember. I should check and then let you guys know. So for those of you who've been listening since day one, thank you very much. Now, so for those of you who've been here from the get, you'll remember that I mentioned one of the sales frameworks that I like, and that's by the fellow Tom Hopkins. Now, Tom Hopkins, old school American dude, real estate market. So a lot of his material is around real estate, how you sell real estate. But like I've told you guys time and time again, do not be put off by the fact that somebody is a sales trainer and the person is only in real estate or only in fashion or what have you. The approach that we should take is, yes, this person is talking about real estate, or maybe this person is talking about selling yams. Is there anything that the person has said about selling yams and potatoes, or selling houses, or selling socks that relates to the wedding industry? If you think he or she has said something that relates, then take it, tweak it, apply it to your personal circumstance, and you'll be better off for it. So don't just hear that, oh, this person only talks about selling yams and cassava, I'm not going to listen to him. Listen, you might find one or two things that come in handy. So, Tom Hopkins, yes. So his sales process, real estate related, but still there's a lot of good stuff that we wedding and event industry professionals can get from that. So, Tom Hopkins has this idea of something called sales resistance, and another concept that he calls sales acceptance. And these are at the heart of why people are holding back, why they're not taking the plunge, why they're not answering your questions, and why they seem to be close-guarded. And so that is because of there's this phenomenon that everyone has in every business, and it's he calls it sales resistance. Now, what is sales resistance? Now, this is the idea that nobody likes to be sold to. Even when you have a genuine need, no one likes to be sold to. I remember when we had to buy our first car in the family. My brother was getting a car, and so we went to Muyiwa is the guy that we use now, based in Lagos. So I think as a family we've bought maybe like 5 or 6 cars from him. So I remember the first time we went to Muyiwa, we're there obviously because we need a car. If not, we wouldn't be at the car lot. And of course, since we had decided that we need to buy a car, at the time my brother had a young family, the kids were in school, so he really needs something to move around in because you can't always borrow Momsy's car. Sometimes your Momsy needs a car, or something else has come up in the family, and the normal cars that you have around the house are not available. So it was time that my brother got his own car, and so we show up there, and then what's the first thing that happened? People just swoop from everywhere like vampires. Bros, this is that, hey, customer, blah blah blah, and start hassling and harassing, and that's part of the thing that comes with sales resistant. Nobody likes to be hassled. Nobody likes to be sold to. So we get there, and then there's all this harassment, and what happens? Walls come up, of course. And so if they ask you questions, you're guarded. The reason why you're guarded is not because you're trying to be a bad person. It's just that you're there, you're trying to buy a car, or you want to plan your wedding, and then all of a sudden these vultures just swarm out of nowhere. You send 1 or 2 messages on Instagram to talk to a wedding photographer or a planner, and then it's like vultures just seem to come out from everywhere. And then of course people's walls go up. So that's one of the ideas behind sales resistance. Nobody likes to be sold. So yes, our brides and grooms are planning a wedding, so they have a genuine need. The wedding is next month. They don't have a photographer. They don't have a planner. So there is a high need, but the walls are going to come up because nobody likes to be sold to. Now, what's on the opposite end of sales resistance? That is sales acceptance. That is when people finally let their guard down and they allow themselves to be persuaded. Basically, it's the mental process that they go through when they realize that it might be a good idea to buy this product or service. And so in every sales situation, we all go through this. So when we went to buy the car, it was the same as with my brother, as it was the same with me when we had to buy my own first car. It was the same thing. You get there, vultures just come out from nowhere, walls go up. That's sales resistance. Eventually, over time, you're chatting with one particular person, you get a sense that you can't trust this person, or maybe you like the merchandise, and then over time, sales resistance goes down, and that's when you get to the point of sales acceptance, and you realize that, okay, it might not be such a bad idea to buy this Tundra, or to buy this Toyota Corolla Sport, or to use this guy as a wedding photographer, or to use Kemi as our wedding planner of choice. Oh, by the way, somebody asked me why do I use Kemi all the time. I don't know. I just started using Kemi one day, and for some reason, I have been using Kemi ever since. So, but one day I'll switch things up. So, no, it's not that I have an affinity for Yoruba babes. I am married to an Asian woman, so there's no hidden affinity for Yoruba babes. For some reason, Kemi just came and it stuck. And no, I don't know any wedding planner who is named Kemi in Abuja. So if there's any Kemi in Abuja, the wedding planner, no, I'm not talking about you. It's just a name that happened to come up, and I've been using it ever since. So now, how do we get people? Okay, let me back up a bit. So anyway, that's part of the reason why I have this podcast, because these are some of the ideas that I like throwing around for us to explore about when we meet people, they have walls up. How do we get those walls to come down? How do we get them to be comfortable? And how do we move them along the sales process? And that's part of the reason why we have this podcast in the first place, because our marketing, our branding, our Facebook advertising, our FEZ, our packaging, our everything, yes, these things are all important, and they help to bring people to the table. But eventually we're one-to-one and face-to-face with someone, and it's time to walk them through signing the deal. And we need to be sure that we are prepared. We have the right processes, the right philosophy that can move us from point A to point B, where they send us a deposit, and then to point C, where do we deliver, and then we have raving fans, and then we start the whole process over and over again. So just bear in mind from all the things that we've discussed about so far. You cannot sell with a high degree of sales resistance. So in the beginning, when it looks like vultures are all over the place, you can't sell. So don't start trying to sell then. It's not going to work. So she has sent you that Instagram message to ask how much for your wedding photography. Rest assured, you are not the only person she has sent that message to. She has sent it to 2 or 3 other people. Maybe she has even emailed one person and maybe called 2 or 3 other people. There's a wall of noise around her. So sales resistance. Don't focus on selling at that point. What we should be worried about is how we can build sales acceptance, how we can reduce the sales resistance and build on sales acceptance. And there are lots of techniques that people use to do that. Like for Tom Coppins and a couple of other people, they have this thing about using a sense of urgency, finding out their timelines so you can move their commitment, so you can gain their commitment, trying to build trust, to bring sales resistance down, to show that you're trustworthy and that you're a credible person to deal with. So there are lots of tips, tricks, and tactics that have been that people have come up with in the past about how to deal with these mindsets that customers go through. So I'll just wrap it up here for now. So if you haven't heard about these terms before, then pick up the phone, pick up your computer or your tablet, and Google sales resistance, Google sales acceptance. Sorry, excuse me. And you will see lots of interesting stuff come up there. So go out there, fish, explore, see what lovely ideas are out there, and learn some more about the fascinating world of how we get to the heart of what it is that people want when they are getting ready, planning their wedding. What is it that they're looking for in a wedding photographer or in a wedding planner? We're going to figure out how to get to the heart of that and how to bring those walls down so that they don't be so guarded. And then we can do what we do best, which is to work our magic and give them the wedding of their dreams. So in future episodes, just as we've done in episodes in the past, you might find you'll get some more details about how to build sales acceptance and how to break down sales resistance. But bottom line is, for those of you who are newbies just catching the show, be aware that these things exist. So people are not being guarded just because they like being obtuse or they like being vague. It's just a normal thing. No one likes to be hassled. No one likes to be sold. You walk into a store and then all the attendants approach you like, "Oh, do you want to buy something?" You say, "Oh, no, I'm just looking." It's not that you're just looking. Obviously, you're in the store because you want to, because you have a need that hasn't been met. So nobody likes to be hassled. That's just normal. So don't worry, it's not you. It's not because you have bad breath or your packaging ain't right. It's just something we have to address and work through, and we're going to be able to move them from point A to point B to point C, happy customer, and then we start the whole process all over again. So thank you very much for listening to the Sales for the Nigerian Wedding Industry podcast. I'm your host, Abuja-based event and wedding photographer, Tavishima Ayede. I'll catch you guys at the next recording.